The fallout from a strike at manufacturing giant John Deere, combined with a global supply chain shortage, is now trickling down to farmers. Farmers say that equipment is already scarce, and now with 10,000 John Deere employees on strike, they fear it could impact their ability to plant and harvest their crops.
The fallout from a strike at manufacturing giant John Deere, combined with a global supply chain shortage, is now trickling down to farmers. Farmers say that equipment is already scarce. And now with 10,000 John Deere employees on strike, they fear it could impact their ability to plant and harvest their crops. For decades, John Deere was a symbol of American farming, a brand farmers could trust. Known for its reliability and proudly made in the USA. But something changed. Today, the same farmers who once swore by John Deere are walking away, frustrated and fed up. Software restrictions, mass layoffs, and decisions that seem to prioritize profit over people have left loyal customers feeling betrayed. This isn't just a minor issue, it's a shockwave through a $34 billion industry, affecting small-town factories and massive farm operations alike. The numbers are clear: John Deere's strategy is costing them more than just a few dissatisfied customers. So what exactly went wrong? How did a beloved American brand end up in such a tough spot? And is there a way for John Deere to regain the trust it once had? Let's find out. There was a time when owning a John Deere wasn't just about farming, it was a badge of honor. Those iconic green and yellow machines weren't just tools. They were symbols of tradition, hard work, and a legacy passed down through generations. Farmers trusted John Deere like family. But today, that trust is crumbling. In just a few years, John Deere has shifted from being the gold standard of American agriculture to a symbol of frustration, controversy, and even rebellion. The company that once stood tall as a dependable giant is now being blamed for fueling a crisis that threatens a $34 billion farming machinery industry. So what went wrong? It wasn't just one mistake. It was a series of choices that left farmers feeling more like customers to be controlled than partners to be valued. Rising equipment costs, shifting manufacturing practices, and restrictive software policies have pushed loyal customers to a breaking point. Farmers already struggling with falling commodity prices and rising input costs now face the added burden of a company they once saw as an ally seemingly prioritizing profits over people. They're speaking out in interviews, organizing protests, and, shockingly, ditching their Deere machines altogether. A brand that once represented trust and reliability is now seen by many as a corporate giant out of touch with the very people who built its legacy. It is a problem that's been plaguing America's farmers. The tractors, planters, and other gear they rely on can sometimes break down. But in many cases, they are not able, or even permitted, to make repairs, even on equipment they own. But new laws are changing that, just as the principle of repairing rather than discarding has implications. Imagine spending $500,000 on a tractor, only to be told you can't fix it. Not because you lack the skill, but because the company that sold it has locked it behind layers of proprietary software. That's the reality farmers across America face with John Deere's latest models. Simple repairs that once took minutes, like replacing a sensor or resetting a code, now require special software accessible only to authorized dealers. It's no longer just inconvenient. It's expensive, time-consuming, and for many, downright infuriating. This isn't about complex engine overhauls. We're talking about basic maintenance tasks farmers used to handle themselves in their own barns, often late at night, to keep operations running during critical harvest. Now, if a problem arises, they are forced to schedule a service visit, wait days for a technician, and pay hundreds, sometimes thousands, of dollars for a repair they could once do with their own hands. The tractor might sit in their barn, but software-wise, it's not truly theirs. Many farmers feel like they've gone from owners to leaseholders of the machines they technically bought. As one Iowa farmer put it, it's like buying a truck and needing Ford's permission to change the oil. This frustration has fueled a powerful political movement, the right to repair. A few years ago, Colorado became the first state to pass a groundbreaking law forcing companies like John Deere to provide farmers and independent mechanics access to the tools and software needed for repairs. It was a massive win for farmers and consumer advocates and set off a wave of similar legislation across the country. But John Deere didn't give up without a fight. The company lobbied heavily against the law, arguing that unrestricted access could compromise safety and intellectual property. Critics, however, believe it's less about safety and more about money. Service monopolies are highly profitable. As more states push for similar laws, the battle over who truly owns a tractor is only heating up. While some farmers fight for their right to repair, others are bypassing the battle entirely, ditching John Deere and choosing brands that never took away that right. So who are these unexpected players winning over America's farmers? Let's find out. While John Deere tightened its grip on software restrictions, competitors quietly stepped in to offer what farmers truly need: affordability, reliability, and the freedom to repair their own machines. Brands like Kubota, AGCO, and Case IH are no longer seen as second-tier options. They are becoming practical, repair-friendly solutions in an industry feeling the squeeze. Take Kubota, for example. Once known for hobby farms, this Japanese brand has expanded its lineup to compete directly with John Deere's mid-size and full-size equipment. Farmers appreciate not just the competitive pricing but the accessibility. Basic maintenance doesn't require jumping through hoops. Then there's AGCO, the parent company behind Massey Ferguson and Fendt. They've invested in user-friendly technology and more open service options, seizing the opportunity left by John Deere's restrictive policies. These brands don't punish farmers for wanting to change a filter or reset a code, they empower them. But the real surprise? It's coming from overseas, and it's a mix of opportunity and controversy. China's YTO Group and Zoomlion have entered the market with tractors priced up to 50% less than John Deere. These machines may lack flashy features, but they are rugged, easy to repair, and, most importantly, affordable. For farmers battling volatile crop prices, rising input costs, and shrinking profit margins, saving hundreds of thousands on equipment isn't just appealing, it's survival. Even after factoring in shipping and import fees, these tractors still undercut Deere's prices. And without restrictive software, farmers can fix them in their own barns or call on any qualified mechanic. This shift toward foreign brands isn't just about price. It's about trust. Farmers feel abandoned by a company they once championed, while these new players offer straightforward machines without hidden restrictions. But as the competition heats up, a new battlefront is opening, one that blends politics, public outrage, and presidential threats. It all started with John Deere's decision to shift jobs to Mexico. If you're ever confused about what the America First agenda is all about, then have a listen to Donald Trump give a warning to John Deere, manufacturer of agricultural machinery and heavy equipment. This is America First. I just noticed behind me, John Deere tractors. I know a lot about John Deere. I love the company. But as you know, they've announced a few days ago that they are going to move a lot of their manufacturing business to Mexico. I'm just notifying John Deere right now, if you do that, we're putting a 200% tariff on everything that you want to sell into the US. When John Deere announced plans to move part of its manufacturing to Mexico, the backlash was immediate and intense. Farmers, factory workers, and local officials felt betrayed. Deere, once a symbol of American industry, seemed to be prioritizing cheaper labor over the communities that built its reputation. But it wasn't just local outrage. President Donald Trump jumped into the debate, threatening a 200% tariff on any John Deere equipment made in Mexico and imported back into the US. At a campaign rally, he accused Deere of selling out American workers and promised to make offshoring financially impossible. The reaction was swift. Deere stock dropped over 1.5% in after-hours trading. While that might not sound catastrophic on Wall Street, even a small dip can signal major uncertainty. Investors began to question if the tariffs would happen, if Deere would reverse its decision, and whether the potential backlash would cost more than any savings from outsourcing. John Deere is now caught in a no-win situation: continue with the move to Mexico and risk a political firestorm, or stay domestic and face tighter profit margins. Meanwhile, their core customers, American farmers, watching closely. They don't just want affordable equipment. They want a brand that supports American workers, not abandons them. Trump's threat has become a flashpoint for a larger debate about American manufacturing and corporate loyalty. As tariffs loom, this issue won't fade anytime soon. But while tariffs and trade wars make headlines, there's a quieter crisis brewing, one that could upend the entire agricultural system. Why are America's farms running out of workers? Let's find out. A few weeks ago, we discussed a new book, Contra Oligarchs, by author Seamus Bruner on Microsoft billionaire Bill Gates and how his dedication to pushing green technology might not be as altruistic as he was letting on. Over the past 40 years, the US has lost over 50% of its small farms. That's not a typo. Half of them are gone. Some were swallowed up by larger operations. Others shut down completely, crushed by razor-thin margins, rising costs, and a system increasingly designed to favor corporate giants over independent growers. Farming in America has shifted from a way of life to a numbers game. And unless you're operating at an industrial scale, the math just doesn't work. One of the driving forces behind this consolidation is how federal subsidies are distributed. While family farms struggle to secure modest grants or emergency support, massive agribusinesses rake in billions of dollars in government aid. According to the Environmental Working Group, from 1995 to 2021, the top 1% of farm subsidy recipients received 26% of all payments. That means the lion's share of financial safety nets is going to the corporations and billionaires who need it the least. This isn't a mistake. It's policy shaped over decades to support efficiency, volume, and scale, a formula that favors the powerful. This is where John Deere steps in, and not as a hero. As the company rolls out high-cost, software-restricted machinery and tightens its grip on maintenance and repairs, it's clear that Deere's business model isn't built for the independent farmer anymore. Instead, it aligns with the needs of massive corporations that can afford six-figure machines, in-house technicians, and high-tech tools that promise a 2% edge in yield. For small and mid-sized farms, these tools are out of reach. And Deere's lack of flexibility only makes things worse. What once was a relationship built on trust, farmer and machine working the land together, is now just a business transaction tilted heavily in favor of the biggest players. John Deere may not have set out to abandon the family farm, but that's exactly how many small farmers see it. As big corporations continue to consolidate land, resources, and power, independent farmers are being squeezed out, not just by economic pressure but by the very systems that were supposed to support them. And that pressure is mounting from every direction. So what's your take on John Deere's bold moves? Is this a turning point for American farming or just a rough patch for a legendary brand? We want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked this one, make sure to subscribe and turn on the post notification bell. Catch you in the next one.